If you think the New York Jets are taking an edge rusher at 2, you're about to look foolish. Caleb Downs, safety, second overall. And it's not even close to being the wrong move. While every mock draft in America has Arvell Reese or David Bailey going there, New York is about to do what New York does best. Ignore everyone and take the best player available. Downs is an immediate all-pro, elite range, instincts, the kind of defensive IQ that changes games from week 1. But that's just pick 2. This draft gets stranger. Tennessee get their guy at running back at 4 and completely reshapes their offense because of it. The Giants are hitting a full franchise reset with 2 top 10 picks, with 2 cornerstone pieces on opposite side of the ball. Kansas City quietly lands the best corner in the entire draft at 9, and one of the most gifted athletes in this class falls all the way to 27 because teams are terrified of his injury history. I've got all 32 picks, every single wire, and yeah, some of you are going to be furious. All right, enough talking. Let's get into it. At the number 1 pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana. No surprise to anyone. He is the number 1 pick of this draft, has been for very many months. He's the right decision at the end of it for the Vegas Raiders to go and get their franchise quarterback, and he will be their franchise quarterback for the next few years. They've made the right decision to bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins, an experienced vet that he can learn and develop and build with, and certainly go for the QB1 job straight out of the gates. I think they do play him. It's just handy to have Kirk there as well to ensure if anything goes wrong, they can put Fernando on ice and to go straight away. Now, here's where it flips. The New York Jets are not going to do what you think. Like I said, in the open, they will take at the number 2 pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. Now, nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is saying this. Nobody else is taking the risk. Everybody else thinks it's going to be Arvell Reese or David Bailey. Look, the Jets will do whatever the Jets want to do, and I think they will take the best available player in this draft, and without a doubt, that is Caleb Downs. He has the highest football IQ within this class. He is undoubtedly a day 1 defensive piece there in New York. They need to rebuild their identity on both sides of the ball. However, they're not going for a quarterback this year. Go and get a guy like Caleb Downs to build around that defensive side of the ball and take the best player available. Moving on to the 3rd pick in this year's NFL Draft. I have got who everybody else will think will go to the Jets there at 2, but I have got Arvell Reese, also out of Ohio State. Look, his burst and speed and ability to take the bend and get to a quarterback is incredible. Has he got a lot of bit to work on? Absolutely. Is he a day 1 starter? Yes. Is he better than David Bailey at this point in time? No. Is his ceiling higher than David Bailey? Yes. And that is why I believe he has higher upside, and I certainly think that he is the better pick of the 2, and that's why I believe Arizona also not looking for a quarterback this year. They brought in Gardner Minshew to run alongside Jacoby Brissett there. I think at the end of the day, they look again also to next year for their quarterback of the future and go and grab a guy like Arvell Reese, that side of the other side of the ball, to build your defense around. At number 4 in the 2026 NFL Draft, I have got the Tennessee Titans taking Notre Dame's running back, Jeremiah Love. It is the, again, right decision, like I said in episode 7 and episode 8. Jeremiah Love is a cornerstone piece on that offensive side of the ball for the Titans. Not only does it take a little bit of pressure off Cam, it also gives Cam another weapon, not only as a running back, but also as a receiver. His ability to get to the outside and become a receiver and a threat there was great to see there in Notre Dame throughout the season last year. Despite them not making the playoffs again, I think Jeremiah there, and I think you need to go and get maybe one more guy from free agency, whoever that may be, to just bulk up that offensive side of the ball and take a little bit of more pressure off Cam. And that's sort of where we start to see the correct trajectory for this Titans squad. Moving on to the number 5 pick in the draft here this year. I've got the New York Giants finally kicking off their reset here with Sonny Styles. We saw what he did at the Combine. He was second to none. He is one of the most athletically gifted players in this draft. He's just absurd what he can do. He is a true foundation piece for this defense for the Giants. They've got the 2 picks. You need to take probably the 2 best available players that you can in these positions. Look, you've given up Dexter Lawrence there. Look, Cincinnati overpaid. I'm going to say it. $28 million for 1 year is a lot for a nose tackle, but we'll see how it works out for them. With that, moving on to the 6th pick of the draft, we've got the Cleveland Browns. They go and get their weapon. They go and get their Carnell Tate from Ohio State. Another Buckeye coming off the board. And that's the 4th in the top 10. Carnell Tate is the first wide receiver off the board. It's the correct decision for them. He will be a wide receiver 1 there in Cleveland. Whoever, despite the issues at quarterback over the last couple of years, I think whoever is going to be passing him the ball will have a weapon there immediately for Cleveland. So good pick there for them. Moving on to number 7, I've got the Washington Commanders taking David Bailey there, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Look, he's ready now. He fits the rebuild there on the defensive side of the ball for the Washington Commanders. Could he go a little bit higher potentially? Do I see him maybe coming off the board to a sort of a Cleveland maybe? Absolutely. I mean, Cleveland need players all over the field, but I think he does slip to the Washington Commanders there at 7 on day 1 player to go. New Orleans Saints there sitting at number 8. They go and get also an offensive weapon that sort of injects life into the offense. They certainly need that. Tyler Schaff, if he's going to be your guy there for the future, you need to give him someone to throw to. So I think they go and grab Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver out of the University of Southern California. He pairs nicely, I think, with Olave, and he's just a dynamic playmaker that we saw there in USC. So I think go and grab the 2nd best wide receiver on the board at this point in time. At number 9, I have got the Kansas City Chiefs taking the best cornerback of the draft, and the Kansas City Chiefs reload again with them selecting Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. Day 1 starter. They stay elite at the position despite giving up Trent McDuffie to the Rams. He is ready to go, and look, you're replacing a great first-round pick with another great first-round pick. So go and grab Mansour Delane there at 9. At number 10, the New York Giants, with their 2nd pick in the first 10, go and grab Francis Marianoa there from Miami. You protect Jackson Dart, which needs to be your number 1 priority at this point in time. You now have got 2 cornerstone picks here in this draft on both sides of the ball. Sonny Styles, Francis Marianoa, start that reset, and we will see some certain growth there in New York for this season. Moving on to another team with 2 picks in this first round, the Miami Dolphins. Also a team in complete reset mode here. I do have them taking Jermoid McCoy, the cornerback, out of Tennessee. Look, there is concern. He didn't play a game last year due to an ACL injury. However, the upside is far greater than the downside. Miami keep him healthy, and you've got a cornerback 1 there straight away. Number 12, the Dallas Cowboys. They need to go defensive this round 1 and probably most of the draft to build it out to provide a little bit of rotation to your guys there. So they go and grab Keldrick Folk out of Auburn, the edge rusher. Fits the identity of what they're looking for there in Dallas. Jerry needs to build out the defense. Go and grab Keldrick Folk At number 13, I have got the Los Angeles Rams taking also a cornerback. Now, yes, they did gain Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. However, again, they're in that window this year that they need to go for a Super Bowl. They're in that window. The last years of Stafford, last years of Devontae Adams, last years of a lot of their key players go and grab Colton Hood, provides elite production on the defensive side of the ball, and he is picked there at 13. Number 14, the Baltimore Ravens in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft take Vega Ione, the guard out of Penn State. They're protecting Lamar. He's not getting any younger. They've had to rejig his contract, so they're not taking too much of a hit on him. But I certainly think you need to protect him. Hopefully the organisation stays healthy this year and they can go deep into a playoff run like they should be with the squad that they do have there in Baltimore. At 15, Tampa, I think, might have just stolen one here. They go and grab Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher. Look, the talent there is undeniable. However, unfortunately, I think teams do look into the automotive accident that he was in a few years ago. Obviously, he was never charged with anything, was never found guilty of anything. But just with everything that's happened in the past few years with players getting into high-powered vehicles and endangering themselves and the general public, I think a few teams do pass on him, but I think taking him at 15 will be a steal for Tampa. They certainly need someone there on the defensive side of the ball that gets to the quarterback. Like I've said in a few episodes ago, they haven't had a player get more than 8 sacks in the last 4 seasons, so they need to get into the backfield and disrupt players there in Tampa. At number 16, I've got the New York Jets taking a offensive tackle from Utah in Spencer Fano. Look, you're building for the future there in New York. You've gone and got a generational talent in Caleb Downs. I think you need to then look for the future in protecting a quarterback, whether you're going to get him this year or next year. I think the right play is to go and get a guy like Fano, give him some reps here in a first year, so then he has a better idea of the speed of the game for when you bring in a rookie quarterback next year, and to help him protect that investment. At number 17, I have got the Detroit Lions taking Field Yates's guy, Monroe Freeling, out of the University of Georgia. He's a physical plug-and-play offensive tackle. You need to continue to build out that offensive line to protect Jared Goff, and hopefully, again, another team that has been simply riddled by injury year in and year out. They have the ability to go and get deep into a playoff run. You can do that now with getting an offensive tackle, and one of the better ones of this draft. I think they get a steal here at 17. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, player that I believe a lot of people have coming off their boards for the Minnesota Vikings is Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. They get themselves a automatic day one team captain leader there from Oregon. His range and instincts across the board are second to none. He is, again, probably outside of Caleb Downs, the best safety in this draft. Go and get Dylan, and you get a day one starter there on the defensive side of the ball. At the 19th pick of the 2026 NFL draft, I've got the Carolina Panthers taking offensive tackle Caden Proctor out of the University of Alabama. Extremely high ceiling on this kid. I think you need to, again, you're protecting your asset there in Bryce Young. You looking to continue to evaluate him this year, to then look at providing him with as your franchise quarterback, which I think is the right idea. And getting a guy like Caden Proctor from Alabama, he is a day one starter and gets you through another year of seeing what value a guy like Bryce Young provides you as your franchise. Moving on to number 20 here in the mock draft here with the Sunday Standard. I've got the Dallas Cowboys taking CJ Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia. They double down there on the defensive side of the ball. They need to do that. That's the only real choice they have. They need to rebuild themselves to... They've got everything they need on the offensive side of the ball. That defense is seriously letting them down, and without taking a lot of defensive players in this draft, they will again have a very average year. But I think they can do that. It can have a better year if they take some really good day one starters on the defensive line. Moving on to the 21st pick of the NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers take Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama. He comes off the board here at 21. Like I've been saying for a few weeks now, if you sit this kid behind a guy like Rodgers, if he does decide to come back, the mechanics are there. It's just getting him through those humps of where there's issues that we saw sort of break down towards that back end of the year, where we saw the cracks sort of start to show. I think if he sits behind a guy like Rodgers, who is a four-time MVP and a first ballot Hall of Famer, he learns a lot, and he then becomes the future franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, go and get your guy, because he is going to lead you, hopefully, to the promised land and keep you as a plus 500 team. Take that with a grain of salt. Moving on, we have got the Los Angeles Chargers taking Peter Woods out of Clemson. Now, you're betting on a trait here. Look, he was a five-star recruit coming out of high school. He had an okay career there in Clemson as a defensive tackle. However, I think the upside and the ceiling that he has can certainly see some great growth. And I think the Chargers go and take Peter Woods at 22. At 23, the Philadelphia Eagles are planning for the future. They take Max Iheanacho, the offensive tackle out of Arizona State. Planning for the future. There is a life without Lane Johnson there on the offensive line. Take a guy like Iheanacho, and he, again, probably sits in rotation for the season, learns, develops, grows, and you get yourself a really good quality pick there at 23 with Max Iheanacho out of Arizona State. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns with their second pick of the first round. I have got them taking Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle out of Utah. Protection focus. If it's going to be Shadur, if it's going to be Watson, is it going to be Dylan Gabriel, whoever it may be, you need to protect him. You need to protect him. Go and get a guy like Lomu, who I think certainly helps out that offensive line and protects that quarterback of yours, whoever that may be. At the 25th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, I think the Chicago Bears go and grab a guy like Emmanuel McNeill-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. I think he is a sort of a long-term kind of process of building him out. I think the raw talent is there. However, the concern would be that obviously coming from the Middle American Conference, it's not paying up against a Big Ten or SEC sort of talent. So there is maybe a little bit of concern there, but I think he has an extremely high ceiling. Go and get your guy there at number 25 to continue to build what they are building in Chicago, which is a very good quality football team. At the number 26 pick, got the Buffalo Bills taking KC Concepcion, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Look, Buffalo is building something there finally, hopefully, maybe for Josh Allen to go and have a deeper run into the playoffs. They brought in DJ Moore from the Bears. I think bringing in another weapon that can be your future wide receiver one in a guy like KC Concepcion, which I think he has the ability to be, because I think his ceiling is quite high. I think go and get your guy there. He's very explosive. He's really fun to watch. Watched a bit of tape of him this week, and I think he's your guy. Moving on to the 27th pick of the NFL Draft this year, 2026. San Francisco 49ers get an absolute steal. And it is also a bit of a swing because you are taking Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. This is a high-risk, high-reward kind of pick. The concern is there, and it absolutely should be because of the injuries that he has dealt with throughout his collegiate career. We did see footage of him at his private workout that I believe a lot of organisations sent guys down to watch him, and we saw his athletic ability. He is a very highly gifted athlete. the injury is a concern. So it's more of it's a swing and a miss. And if you swing, it's a home run. If it's a miss, well, then you've wasted a first-round pick. But I think take the shot with him because this kid's going to be a wide receiver one wherever he may go if he stays healthy. Moving on to the 28th pick. We're almost there here at the Sunday Standard. The Houston Texans take Blake Miller, the offensive tackle, out of Clemson. Keep it simple. Protect your guy. CJ Stroud, again, a player that we see glimpses of greatness. And then we're just like, nah, what are you doing? You've brought in David Montgomery. You're getting Tank Dell back in. I think this is the year we see the Texans maybe finally make a proper run at this. All the pieces are there. Go and get yourself a tackle there out of Blake Miller from Clemson. Moving on to the 29th pick of the NFL draft here at the Sunday Standard. Our mock. He should go a lot higher than this, and he probably will. This whole mock will probably be completely wrong, but that's why we do it, because we love to just go out there and put out a wild list of who we think is going to take what at certain parts throughout this first round. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs take the best available player here on the board, and they continue to be an elite team. Go and get your guy, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. He is the best tight end of the draft. You are looking to, again, much like the Eagles for a life without Lane Johnson, you're going and getting a guy for a life after Travis Kelce. You, again, sit him, Kenyon, behind a future first ballot Hall of Famer in Travis. You learn, he develops and grows, and then it becomes your day one starter, potentially in his sophomore year. You look at photos of the guy and he's just, wow, impressive. And they get an absolute steal, I think, if he does drop that far in the draft. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins with their second pick of the draft after the Jalen Waddle trade. Again, this team is in a full rebuild. They are paying a lot of money to players that are not playing for them, and we get that, but they needed to do. They've stripped house, and they're rebuilding from the ground up. Go and get yourself Zion Young, the defensive end out of Missouri. Keep loading up that defensive side of the ball. He provides speed and pressure on the edge. Go and get there and build out the defensive side of the ball. You've gone and paid Malik Willis for the next 3 years. Do you go and grab a guy in the draft next year? Either way, build out the defense and go from there. Moving on to the final two picks here in the mock draft. The New England Patriots take edge rusher out of Clemson. TJ Parker just feels like a Patriots pick, doesn't it? Disciplined, fits the system that they're building there. Potentially you could go and get an offensive tackle there, but I think you can find someone, again, later down the draft, day 2, day 3. But I think go and get yourself a guy like TJ Parker. And finally, the Super Bowl champions of 2025, Seattle Seahawks, go and get one of the better quarterbacks of this draft. Also from the University of Clemson, Avion Terrell. He's a long athletic corner. You need to go and replace Tariq Woolen there on the other side to ensure you're not balanced on the corner in the cornerback position. Obviously Devin Witherspoon on one side. You need another guy on the other side so you're not weak on one side and sort of see pressure and get scored on. So that is their pick there for Seattle. That is the full first round of the 2026 NFL mock draft here at the Sunday Standard. Every pick, every reason. If you're watching here on YouTube, subscribe and drop your biggest disagreement in the comments. I want to see where you think I've gone wrong. Spotify listeners, follow the show, and I will see you on Monday for the full recap of the 2026 NFL draft. Thank you for joining us here at the Sunday Standard. We'll see you Monday.